Everybody, this is Katie Sparks. I'm the STEM and Computer Science Coach for MCCSC. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do two things on Canvas. First, I'm going to show you how to take an assessment as a student just so that you can see what your students will see. That part is totally optional. And then I'm going to show you how to grade that assessment using the rubric. So the first thing to know is by this point you should have already watched the video on how to import content into your course. And when you did that, hopefully you learned how to bring those assessments into your course. So don't watch this video until you've done that. After you've watched the video on importing course content and you've brought over the CFAs and CSAs that you are ready to give your students, then you are ready to watch this video about how to grade them. Now, as you may have seen, we've worked with the learning outcomes in Canvas so that your gradebook will be nice and color-coded. But to do that, you have to turn it on in your settings. So go to Settings in your course, and you are going to click on Feature Options, and you'll want to turn on the Learning Mastery Gradebook and the Student Learning Mastery Gradebook. Once those are turned on, that'll give you the option to view your color-coded gradebook, which I'll show you at the end. Okay, so we are ready to jump right in. I'm going to go to Quizzes and make sure that I've published the quiz that we're going to be taking today. Today we're going to be taking a practice quiz. So this is a quiz that you can import into your class if you want to try it out. It's called Practice Assessment for Grading. I click down here to publish it, and that way it'll show up for me whenever I go to Student View. So it's published. I'm going to go back to the top and I'm going to click on Home, and I'm going to go to Student View. So now I'm viewing this page as a student would view the page, and I'm doing this so that I can take the assessment as a practice so that I can practice grading. If you don't feel the need to do that, you can just jump ahead to the part where we start talking about grading and actually grade student assessments once they've taken them. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Quizzes over here. And I'm going to take this practice assessment for grading. I'll hit Begin. And this is what it will look like for your students. Although they'll have one question at a time, this practice assessment is just set up so that you can answer some questions that we can grade later. It's not really set up for content. You'll see it's a pretty basic quiz. So choose a word that means the opposite of small. Go with large. Choose the odd numbers. That's a multiple answer question there. Here's a fill in the blank where I can type in my answer. And this is an extended response. How did the character in the story feel when the dog ate her ice cream? I'll put she was mad, and then use two pieces of evidence to support your answer. I know this because she started to scream and because she was stomping her feet. Okay, and then how would the resolution of the story change if the character's actions were different? I'm just going to put the end of the story would be very different. Not the best answer, but we don't want to get every single question right. Okay, so I'm done. I'm going to hit Submit. For this practice quiz, it's going to actually tell you your score based on the questions that I've auto-graded. We've set up all the CFAs and CSAs to not do that, so your students will not see a screen like this when they take an actual CFA or CSA. They'll just see a thank you for submitting your assessment, and it'll move on. Okay, so I've taken the assessment. Now I'm going to leave the student view so we can practice grading, because that's really what this webinar is for. So I'm going to go back to my home page, and I'm going to click the grades over here. And when I click grades, it'll show me my gradebook. So I'm going to scroll over and find that practice assignment that we just took. Another option is I could just view I could arrange it so it's only the assignments that have been taken, but I'm just going to go ahead and keep them all there and scroll for right now. There are some different view options that you can do. Okay, so I'm looking for my practice assignment. Maybe, did I miss it? Oops, sorry about that. Okay, let's try that again. Grades. And I'm looking for that published practice assignment that we just did so that I can grade it. Aha, there it is. So this is our practice assessment. You can see all the students that are in this course right now, but I need to scroll down and find that test student, which will be at the bottom. So here's my test student. Now I'm ready to grade this assessment. So if I click on the student's score, this little box will pop up with an arrow, and if I click on that arrow, it'll take me to the Speedgrader option. When I click on Speedgrader, I'll be able to see the student's assessment over here on the left, and then if I click View Rubric, I'll be able to view the rubric side by side with it. Now, sometimes it lets you drag this over to let you view more of the rubric. Sometimes it's kind of finicky, but I can see the rubric well enough. So I'm going to look at how the student did, and then over here on the rubric, I'm either going to click if they got it right, yes, and if they got it wrong, no. For the level 3 questions, there's a little bit more to it than that, but I'll talk about that when we get there. So the level 2 question, they got it correct, yes. For the level 3 questions, let's view the longer description. It said, if the student earns 2 or 3 stars according to the grading flowchart, enter a 0.5 here. If they answer all DOK questions correctly, click yes. If they answer only parts of each DOK question and or 0 questions correctly, click no. So this is where you refer back to that chart, but basically if you'll recall, DOK 1 questions are worth 1 star, DOK 2 are worth 1 star, DOK 3 questions are worth double. They're worth 2 stars for a total of 4 stars. So we're saying if they got 2 questions right, 2 of the level 3 DOK questions right, or more, then they would get a 0.5. If they got them all right, then you would just click yes. So let's see how we did. We got the level 3 DOK 1 correct, that'd be 1 star. We got the level 2 correct, that'd be 2 stars. And then the level 3, let's go ahead and grade this together. So how did the character feel? She was mad. I know this because she started to scream and she was stomping her feet. So I did use 2 pieces of text evidence. Depending on the grade level here, you might count this as correct. They answered the question. If it was an upper grade and you were looking for a little bit more, you could count it as partially correct. I'm going to go ahead and count this as correct. And that means that this student got all of the level 3 questions correct. So I'm going to go ahead and click yes here. If the student only got part of those level 3 questions right, 2 or 3 stars according to your grading flowchart, then you would come over here on the rubric and type in a 0.5 right here, and that's how you can get that partial credit. Okay, so we're going to keep moving along in our rubric. If all are correct so far, we're going to grade the level 4. So far, I'm all correct, so I'm going to go ahead and grade the level 4 question. The end of the story will be very different. That doesn't really answer the question, so that is not correct. So on the rubric, I'm going to click no. And then if you scroll over and down to the bottom of this rubric, it will give you your score. So you can see that right now I'm at a 3 out of 4. If I click down here, you will notice I've just assigned a random standard to this practice assignment. But in your actual class, when you're giving actual CFAs and CSAs, these standards will line up to the CFA or CSA that you're giving. And so when I click that I got a 3 on this standard and then save it, and you can hit submit here. Now this score is in. The student got a 3. To go to the next student, you would just hit the next arrow up here. This student hasn't done the assessment yet since we're just doing this practice, but it would show up here. You could view the rubric and go ahead and grade. When you're done grading all of your students' assessments, then you click up here in the gradebook, and you will see the grades for this assessment. So we'll have to scroll back over to see them again. And here it is. And when I scroll down to the bottom, now this score is showing up as a 3. Now this gradebook is fine, but if you wanted to look at the gradebook in a nice color-coded view, you could click on Learning Mastery here. And the only standard that we have given anything on, oh, sorry about that. I'm going to go ahead and say hide the outcomes that don't have any results yet. So we will only see the outcomes that do have results. Oh my goodness, sorry about that again. Submit this. Go back to my gradebook. Okay. So here we are. We should be seeing one learning outcome. There it is. So 6AF1 is the only outcome that we have any data for so far. That was the only one that was linked to that practice assignment. And you can see that our test student is the only student with any data. They're a 3 out of 3. If I only wanted to see students that meet mastery or exceed mastery, I could turn off the others, and then I would only see the student scores that were green or dark green. If I only wanted to see the students below, I could turn these off, and it would only show me those that were near or well below mastery. But if you keep them all on, you can see all of their scores. This is going to be super helpful when you're making your groups for differentiation. It really is a way to see at a quick glance, a color-coded glance, who is getting it, who is close, who needs just a little bit of remediation, and who needs a lot. So I highly recommend this learning outcome view. So we've walked through how to take a practice assignment, how to grade those assignments using the rubric, and then how to view those grades both in the regular gradebook and as learning outcomes. If you have any questions about grading using the rubric, feel free to reach out. My email address is kesparks@mccsc.edu. Thanks, everybody.